Hey guys, so today we're shooting a video to show a little bit about how our platforms to test supercar parts like Ferrari or McLaren work. First of all, we are going to check what happens when we try to power up a module outside the car and see if that is enough to let us understand if the module works. And then we will see what we can do when we have a platform and the logic behind the platform. We'll try to explain a little bit. So first of all, we need to know that when the car is has all the modules connected, they work together by communicating through a language / way, which is called the CAN. And there are other communication methods inside the car, but the one which is most important is CAN. Now, CAN has been used for more than 20 years, so it's quite standard. And depending on the importance of the message, there are different ways, some more fast, some slower. For example, the engine is what we can say using the high-speed CAN. It's like you're taking the highway to reach your destination as fast as possible because you are a very important message carrier because you work with the engine. While something less important like the air, for example, the window rollers will be on a slower path. However, since the amount of messages sent for the engine are bigger than the ones sent for the window rollers, actually the speed is still very fast for us, and the impact on the functionality is basically zero by choosing the slow speed over the high speed. However, in case of emergency, you may want the airbag to get out as soon as possible. You don't want anything else to get before that. So that's why we have different speed of buses and different buses. So depending on the module, we will need to contact to the body CAN or the powertrain CAN or the diagnosis CAN or the chassis CAN. So there are different CAN. And now today we are going to work on an instrument cluster from a McLaren, and we are going to talk to it using the body CAN. Actually, the cluster also has the powertrain CAN because it needs to receive information from the engine about the velocity of the car, the speed, the RPM, and so on. So it has two CAN, but we are going to work only with the body CAN because we all need to see if the cluster lights up. So in order to test if the cluster lights up, let's first see if we can do it just by giving power. And let's see what happens when we do. So now we are going to check. So now we are working on this McLaren cluster. This is from our own stock, and we connected the CAN wires. There are two of them, CAN low and CAN high. Both of them need to be connected. Otherwise, there is no way that any message can go through. And then ignition is in orange, red is for 12 volt, and black is for ground. In this case, ignition and 12 volt actually connect to the same 12 volt source, but we need both of them. Otherwise, it will not work. So if we just connect those three, and we don't send any message here, so whether they are connected or not is the same, what happens here is this. Let me disconnect actually one of those CAN cables, just to prove it to you. So no CAN communication over here. We have more than half ampere consumption at 12 volt. Power off. Let's power it on and see what happens. As you see, this moved. And the buzzers will start to make noise now, as you see. And we are 0.64, 67 ampere, depending on the condition. Every once in a while the buzz will go again. That's all, nothing else will happen. But if we want to see if the cluster really works, we want to see, for example, which language it is in, if the displays over here work, if the clock hand can move. So what do? We send it a message. First of all, we reconnect the cable. But over now, we are not sending any message. Let's use our device to send a message. And let's see what happens. And as you see, it turned on immediately. Over here, we see it is clearly in Chinese. Over here, we have some information. The cluster isn't making noise much more often now. The display over here is working. Nice. And we are using almost 1 ampere. But what happens if we want to see if the clock... See, now we turned off communication and the cluster just go back to before. Let's see if it can move. Okay, so now we see the first phase of ignition. And as you see, the cluster turns off and then it starts again. This is because our message is being sent in a loop, so it will keep doing it forever until we disconnect the device. But this shows us some information. We see that the light here is working, we see the light here is also working. So both tests are very useful. All right, so now it's time to try the other one. So first of all, we turn off this cluster and we do the exact same connection on the cluster which came from our customer from United States. So this one don't have my Supercar Expert logo, it's easy to recognize. We will connect and see what happens. So here we go. As you see, this is the cluster from the customer. Same connection, same power supply. Let's turn it on. It did flash for a second. The clock hand didn't move, and actually we see it's in the wrong position. Now let's see if the buzzer comes out. In the meantime, we check and we have 0.8 ampere of consumption. Something is wrong with this cluster. Let's try to send it a message. No reaction on both messages, which means the cluster needs repair. So we need to open it and check what's wrong with the PCB, and then after we fix it, we can make the same test to confirm that the cluster is in good condition. So now the repair starts. So guys, if you think that this kind of platform is interesting for you and it's useful to know a little bit more about it, just let me know in the comments and we will try to shoot more videos about it. We are always very excited to try to share about the way we work, because that also helps our customers to understand the level we work at and the issues we can face without problems, and the issues that it's a little bit harder for us to handle because maybe we don't have the car. Having the platform, it certainly is a great help. However, sometimes platforms are so complex that it's better to keep having the car and test things on the car, even if it takes a little bit longer, because platform will have too many potential issues you cannot figure out by yourself. So this is a super simple platform, as you see. We're not testing all the functions of the cluster. We're not reading DTCs. We can only let it turn on. Some clusters don't even need a CAN message to turn on like that. For example, Ferrari, you can just plug ignition and you're good. So it's just 3 wires. But on McLaren, there is this kind of a special thing, and I thought to take this video to show the usefulness of a platform and how simple actually it is in the most simple use case. Of course, some of our platforms have several different units connected together in order to make a cluster turn on, or a control unit to respond to any command. However, I hope this video can be useful to give an idea, and if you have any questions, just let us know in the comments. See you next time.